Hello everyone, welcome to a DCS World video. In today's video we have the Mi8, the Russian utility transport helicopter. So I seem to have deleted the takeoff sequence as part of my recording, but anyway, this is an 18-minute video, or 17-minute video, so I'm not going to cry over that. You'll see a takeoff later on in the video after I land somewhere. So the Mi8, this is on the multiplayer server, this is on the search and rescue server where I've got the Gazelle videos. At this particular point in time there was about half a dozen people busy rescuing troops from each other and trying to nick them off each other. I'm heading off towards that blue smoke. There are two wrecked Mi8s that I previously flew out there, so wish me luck. Because yeah, I'm still trying to get used to this bird. So I'm probably coming out at a bit of an angle. I'm trying to make sure I don't gain too much speed. There's a Gazelle. The Gazelle is the overperformer, nicking pilots off everybody, and we've got a couple of Black Hawks out there as well. Black Hawks are pretty quick, so the Gazelle is agile, but the Black Hawks are quick, and what that means is that they certainly able to, chase up and sort of reach in and sneak these people that need to be rescued. You'd have thought that the injured would have been grateful that everybody was rushing in to rescue them, but probably not sort of breakneck speed that's going on. The Mi8, interestingly enough, is probably, apart from the Hind, one of the fastest helicopters in the game. It's very fast. It's got probably the best autopilot. So it's really good if you're in a game where you want to do transportation. Now, Digital Combat Flight, DCS stands for Digital Combat Simulator. It is a flight simulator, it isn't a combat simulator, and for some reason I seem to spend a lot of time carrying logistics in a large helicopter. Go figure. But it's a way to make yourself useful in if you're learning the game and you want to be useful on a multiplayer server, and here I'm looking out for the Black Hawk, by the way. If you want to make yourself useful on a multiplayer server, then helicopters can often be an avenue to do that, because you can transport logistics, be useful, and yeah, the learning curve isn't quite the same as something like a Hornet or, heaven forbid, a MiG-21. So what we're doing here is we're just trying to slow down. I'm flying sort of sideways on into the wind. Mainly that's to use the side of my helicopter as a bit of a break, because this thing isn't as agile as the Gazelle. I'm pretty used to the Gazelle stopping on a dime, then landing, coming in, hovering, holding for a few seconds, winching the guy in, and then basically taking off. You can see that the Black Hawk is coming in behind me. He's going to try and hover and pick up the dude on the ground near the bus. Interestingly enough, you can see how unaffected the smoke is by the rotor. You'll get a really spectacular example of this later in the video. I'm so slow and so low that I just decide to land. I grab the guy, and that's it, we're out of here. As I said, you'll get to see a successful takeoff. This is an unloaded Mi8, so I'm not doing a massive rolling takeoff. I am picking up going forward. It has a little bit of natural forward movement. But yeah, because it's so lightly loaded, it's able to carry an incredible load. I've got one injured person on board, to 130 kilograms or something. So basically, yeah, it has no problems lifting off the ground. Great views from within the Mi8. It does have weapon systems, but I don't really know how to use them. In fact, I think the last time I used them, I just loaded up multicolored smoke rockets, which, yeah, got comments, I suppose. But yeah, well, that describes the confidence I had in hitting anything. It does have you can put a door gunner in it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, not the best use of it. If you like door gunners, get yourself the Huey. That has great door gunners who do awesome work and have deep pockets for ammunition. But the Mi8's just really good for these long haul logistics. It's fast, and unlike the Huey, you can actually take your hands off the controls. Once you get the trim set, it'll actually fly, and the autopilot settles, fly in a straight line. If you want to adjust course, you can just tweak the controls in the helicopter. I'll run through those a little bit later. That'll appear later in the video. Here you can see I'm just trying to head off, get my speed up as fast as I can. The altimeter is, so if you see there's a circle with a white top and a black bottom, that's the artificial rise, and to the left of that is the speedometer, and that's showing about 250, I'm slowing down to about 250 kilometers per hour. I probably need to learn to convert between kilometers an hour and knots, because American aircraft are all knots and Russian aircraft are all kilometers per hour, and very, very religiously so. Right, so what we're doing here is the nose picking up. I'm trying to make sure that my vertical speed remains constant, so I'm trying to bleed off speed, pushing the rotors forward to slow me down. I'm trying to get slow enough, and I'm trying to recognize that point at which I lose that transitional lift, or that transformational lift, where the blades, as they bite into clean air, that forward movement of the blades, the forward movement of the helicopter adds to the air going over the blades, which increases your lift. You can see that I've probably slowed down to that point. Let me just, yeah, I'm starting to crab my way in towards the blue smoke. So DCS is extremely highly accurate simulator with extremely accurately simulated controls. Unfortunately, the rotor downwash is not simulated at all, and you can see how perfectly unaffected this blue smoke is by me flying basically straight through it. You'd expect a lot more, a lot more catastrophic movement of the smoke, but as it turns out, we just go through it as if, yes, I think that speaks for itself. So there's not a lot of downwash. Those flames obviously be blasted outwards by the massive rotor downwash of this large helicopter. Now the bad guy, or the good guy should I say, the target that I'm trying to pick up is at the base of this tower. There's no way I'm going to land this helicopter in that space. I don't think there's any way anybody could land this helicopter in that space, to be fair, because I think that space is actually smaller than the helicopter, or at least roughly the same size. So any left or right swing would basically mean death. So through pure persistence and a little bit of luck, we managed to pick the guy up and we're on our way out. So it was actually a pretty good feeling. The first one I picked up by landing, the second one by hovering. I never thought I'd do that in Mi8, at least not without a lot more practice. We're going to head off towards the next smoke. I actually only rescued 3 pilots. The Mi8's probably able to carry basically unlimited as far as this particular scenario is concerned. I think 18 or something. That's 18 chances to fall out of the sky. That's way too many chances that I was prepared to take, so I didn't take it. So I went for 3 and then went off to the hospital. So we're coming in, crabbing in slowly. I'm also picking on those guys that aren't really sort of sitting at the bottom of large tower blocks of apartments. So if I'm necessary, I could sort of land and either taxi or hover taxi, and not that I'd really hover taxi much in the Mi8, because the Mi8 probably has the worst vortex ring state characteristics of any chopper in DCS. And what that means is that if your descent goes below, if you're not moving forward and your descent goes below a meter per second, you'll enter vortex ring state, which means you'll go into your own downwash, which will push you down. The more power you put into the rotors, the more downwash you create, and the more you get pushed towards the ground. And the only way to get out of it is to fly out of it, and you need a lot of height in the Mi8 to basically recover. You can see here I'm coming through the blue smoke, completely unaffected. Obviously in real life that blue smoke would be smashed all over the place across the ground, but yeah, that's a future enhancement, or maybe it's not really important for DCS. It does create one problem, that you fly into blue smoke and you're obscured, whereas normally you would probably blast a lot of it out of the way. You'd be drawing in clean air, and a lot of the smoke would be repelled by the downwash. But anyway, is what it is. The good guy, the guy I'm trying to pick up, is just at about the junction of that road. I've gone past him a little bit, so it's quite hard to hover. The Gazelle seems to have a natural tendency to try and hover in place, which the Mi8 doesn't have, and the Huey certainly doesn't. The Huey is really like sort of, you know, it's like a coin on an ice rink. Basically, it's just, you know, when it starts to move, it just slides in whatever direction it wants. So here we are, we're coming in. Now what you'll probably see is there's lots of movement on the stick. Let me just get inside the cockpit again, and you'll see the stick at the bottom of the screen's jiggling around. Actually, what I'm doing here is something called stirring the pot. Rather than just try and hold it steady and end up in a sort of a slide that gradually increases in speed and gets me out of the pickup zone, I'm just winding the controls around a little bit so that I don't get that sort of movement in any one particular direction, and they sort of cancel each other out into sort of a nice average. Probably a bit unprofessional, but then again, I'm not a professional helicopter pilot. I'm a guy that plays simulators. As you can see, the other guys are still hard at it. This Black Hawk is doing an awesome job. We'll see this guy shortly. The green Black Hawk's heading off to the hospital. I'm heading off to the hospital. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to set up my autopilot. So we'll spend a bit of time looking at the controls, that panel on the screen there. So you can circle it. There's 3 green lights. The middle one's lit. So there's a big sort of black rectangle or oblong in the middle there. So we've got the middle light lit, which needs to be lit all the time. That's stabilization. On the left is heading, and on the right is altitude. And I'm just having a few problems with altitude because I'm trying to get that set. And if you change the altitude, the light comes off, so the autopilot disconnects. Once you get it on, there's a little toggle switch there you can use to request higher or lower. And there's a little wheel you can use to change heading. So once you get your autopilot set, it's actually pretty nice. And you can go, you know, pretty high speed, long distance, hands off the control, make yourself a cup of tea, do all sorts of things in real life, and come back to a helicopter that's actually still in the air, which is always good. Nice view from the outside. And we are heading towards the hospital. Now, there's 4 cities in this particular scenario. One of them has a field hospital. We can see that the other helicopters are busy. And you know, it's sort of a field that you can land in, but most of them just have landing pads, which is why I haven't tried the Mi8 previously. My experience with the Huey was really awful, because what happens is I'd start sliding backwards and forwards and then just lose it. So we're coming up to the hospital. I think there's already a helicopter on the landing pad, or about to be, and there's another one coming up behind. So I think there's a green one who arrives before us, and a brown one, or a light green one, whatever the game does, coming after, who will land after us. So what we're doing here is just trying to get slow, just keep it slow, just enough speed to keep it steady, so that I'm not sort of trying to hover and start to slide. Just real slow, start to turn in. We can see that there is another helicopter landing on the pad before me, which is fine. But I'm going to be a little bit greedy, because the green one makes it down, and then the brown one, well, I sort of snip in between him and the green one. You can see there that there's a Black Hawk just out of view on the landing pad. There he goes. And what he does is he very gratefully takes off. So he's just flying off to the left of me, just coming past the building there. You can see him. And then this is the brown one. He's a little bit high. I figure that he's got to lose too much altitude, and losing the altitude at low speed in a helicopter is a bit of a slow and careful business. So I figure that I've sort of got the rights. Coming in through the smoke, the red smoke's completely unaffected by our rotor wash, as all smoke is. Love pointing that out. I think I'll probably get a slap on the wrist for that, but anyway. So coming in over the helicopter landing pad, all I'm trying to do is keep my rate of descent so that I impact the pad at the right point. You'll hear a squeak as I pull on the brake, so I make sure that my brake is on before I land. And I land a little bit short, but I get down there. The guys drop out. I'm busy yakking to all my teammates saying, I did it, and the guy behind me saying, yeah, get clear. So right, we lift off, plenty of power again. And what I'm going to do here is just rotate the helicopter and watch the other guy come in. Sort of just more, you know, it's sort of a lot of mucking around, and it's sort of practice at observing something from the helicopter. which is also quite useful to do. Not able to laze anything from this helicopter or perform any sort of support like that. And definitely observation helicopters are not a thing in DCS because tank guns are way too efficient. If you hover, you know, I think within 5 kilometers of a formation of tanks, yeah, you'll wear a tank round pretty much. Right, oh, and he's gone for a bit of dynamic roll over there. What that means is that he'll probably have lost the tips of one of his blades, which is pretty fatal for a helicopter because most of the lift comes off the tips of the blades. So the inside of the blade actually does very little lifting. It's the tips that do the most lifting. So if you chip a tip off a blade, then, you know, he's tried to take off the pad. He can roll forward. The rotors have enough power for him to do that, but yeah, he's ended up on the road. So a bit of a repair job there. That's not me, which is good, and I'm going to head back towards home base. So in the last home stretch of the video, so thanks for watching. Sorry, this is a bit like a radio channel where you get in stream of consciousness, but that's the way I roll, editing videos on my phone. So playing DCS on a high, you know, on a high end, or at least it was a couple of years ago, gaming laptop, and then recording the videos and exporting the videos to my phone where I'm used to doing my editing. So with all Russian helicopters, I'd recommend until you get used to it to land not exactly like this, because I don't turn clean into the runway and I turn well too close to the runway, but a rolling landing. So what that means is you just come in, you pull back on the stick, you pull down on the collective, basically try and getting our speed. You can see our speed's about 50 kilometers per hour. Our vertical velocities just a very slight sinking, and then we just touch down. Make sure that we're stable, and then we touch the brakes once we know we're not going to go careening off madly. It does have toe brakes, but I also have a paddle switch on my joystick, which activates both brakes at the same time. So there's a little bit of yeah, I've got some enhanced controls that maybe the real helicopter doesn't have. I'm going to taxi off the runway, not that it matters because this is a helicopter only scenario. No one's going to be landing on that runway coming barreling through, but it's just sort of a clean thing to do. Anyway, that's the Mi8. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.